The Lakers are off to yet another disappointing start. Though it has gotten a little bit better the further into this year that we've got, it's still disappointing to say the least. Now, the Lakers are coming off another year where they missed the playoffs. A new coach has come in, and they continue to be a disappointment. I, for one, have been one of the few basketball/Lakers fans that actually holds our front office accountable, whether it be Pelinka, the Rambuses, or even Jeannie Buss. And I think all three of them share blame, but unfortunately, the blame doesn't stop at the top. There's a huge question surrounding the LeBron era in LA. Has it been a failure? And many will say no, it hasn't, because a ring has come of it. And there's others that say yes, it has, because this team had so much promise, and though a ring came from it, this team has gone to the gutters without a future to look forward to. Sure, there's been some very high highs with a championship ring, and there's also been some pretty low lows by Lakers standards. Sure, a ring has come of it, like I said, but honestly, I consider that a win in regards to the AD trade and not the overall LeBron James era. These last 5 years have been nothing short of a roller coaster ride, and I don't really want to talk about the play, but more of the behind the scenes issues that have led to us to get to where we are, this rock and hard place dilemma that we find ourselves in currently. As it stands, the Lakers don't really have any capital to trade for a solid piece, while still having assets in the tuck at the same time. It's apparent that they're scared to make a move for fear that it'll be the wrong move and it's going to hamper their future, because the only assets that we truly have are things that are for our future. The Lakers have just 2 draft picks that are worth anything, and they're faced with the difficulty and the decision on whether to make a splash to trade and to win now, or force LeBron to suck it up for the sake of the franchise's future. To figure out how we got here, we must go back to the 2018 summer. Now, before we hop into this video, if you are new, go ahead and drop a sub on this video, drop a like for me if you enjoy it by the end of the video. Let me know what you think about LeBron James's era as a Laker. If you're not new, welcome back. I appreciate having you here. You know, it's been a while since we dropped a video, but we back. I promise, I'm back. July 1st, 2018. It was announced that LeBron agreed to a 4-year, $150 million deal with the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, me and many other Lakers fans, we immediately thought number 17 was on the way. Not in a couple years, but we thought immediately. And that's the kind of effect LeBron has when he leaves a team and comes to your team. LeBron signing, it shocked many for many reasons. The main reason, and I think the biggest reason why it was shocking, is that this is the longest Bron had ever signed with a team since his 6-year deal with Miami back in 2010. LeBron hadn't signed any deal longer than 2x2s ever since that last 6-year deal in Miami. It was almost like he knew he was going to leave Cleveland again. He just had unfinished business, some loose ends to tie. He did that and he was out. But he was going 2x2s each year, and this was the first contract where it showed he was there for its future, despite how old he was. Now, this time, Cleveland fans weren't disgusted with him leaving because, like I said, he tied up the loose ends he had when he first left, won them a ring. Despite losing 2 or 3 of them, he won them a ring, and he brought a championship home after 50 plus years in Cleveland without one. Overall, we knew it was a new chapter in Bron's career and legacy after becoming Cleveland's franchise leader in nearly every statistical category, going to Miami, figuring out how to become a champion, finally coming back to Cleveland one more time and bringing them a ring. And at this point, he's pretty much answered majority of the questions, and he's doing what he wants to do to close out the end of his career. As a Laker fan, this was special. He's joining an illustrious list of legends to play for the Lake Show, from Kareem to Magic to the late great Kobe Bean. The expectations were through the roof, and they still are to this day. But when you have Bron on your team, anything is possible. So that's why the expectations are what they are. First year when LeBron got there in 2018 and 2019, Luke Walton was still the head coach of the Lakers. A team that boasted a fairly young, talented roster that featured a 2nd-year Lonzo Ball, a 3rd-year Brandon Ingram, a rookie Reggie Bullock, a 2nd-year Caruso, 2nd-year Josh Hart, a 2nd-year Kuzma, a rookie Mo Wagner, and a 3rd-year Zubac. Now, hearing all those names, if you take LeBron out of the equation, the Lakers had something brewing for the next 3 or 4 years. Get a solid piece that they needed in the draft, like one of these top picks that are hooping now, and they might have been okay. They might have been good to go. But you add LeBron to the equation, now this team has to be win now. Now we don't have time to develop. We don't have time to be patient with these younger guys. And that's essentially how it goes when LeBron comes to his team for his first year. It's going to be a filling out process. They're essentially going to play with that roster, but from that point forward, they're going to see who they need to put around Bron and essentially blow that roster up the second year to see a whole new roster. Again, like I said, hearing these names, you think the Lakers had a beautiful future, all while LeBron is the guy, the star, and the driver. This team might not have been ready this year, but in the next year or two, with great development, they would have made some noise. And knowing what we know about the guys now that I just named, they're all formidable guys at this point now. Lonzo Ball is the only guy that hasn't really been playing. He had 2 knee surgeries this past year, but that was literally just this year. He was hooping all the other years and progressing. He changed his shot, got his jumper better. B.I. got stronger, and he's a perennial talent down there in New Orleans. Reggie Bullock is a great 3-and-D guy for the Mavericks right now. Caruso is another great 3-and-D guy. His offense isn't as great as it could be, but he's a lockdown defender for the most part. Josh Hart, all-around 2-guard that comes off the bench. He gives you solid minutes. Kuzma has formed into a great all-around player at a 6'9" frame. I wish we could have kept him. Mo Wagner, he's a pretty solid role player. He could have came off the bench, been a nice shooter for LeBron. And lastly, Zubac. Zubac would be the perfect guy to actually match with AD, as he's fine with banging bodies down in the paint while AD rather be away from the basket. I can make an argument that each and every guy on this team could have stayed on this team, but hindsight is 2020. We wouldn't have known what we know now about these guys, but knowing what we know now, this was a boneheaded decision to let all these guys walk. This first year, Bron unfortunately only played 55 games dealing with a groin injury. Zoe only played 47 games dealing with injuries on and off the court as well, with ankles, foots, knees, stuff like that. And this squad was essentially just a work in progress. But when you get Bron, and this is a growing theme in this video, your focus is immediately on win now, regardless of who's on that roster. This year, the Lakers finished 37-45, 10th in the West, and there were bright spots throughout the dim year, so there was still optimism within Laker Nation, especially because majority of the year was robbed from Bron, Lonzo, and we didn't get to see our whole team because of injury. This would be Luke Walton's last year as the head coach, as well as the last year of having Magic Johnson as the GM, who is essentially the catalyst of why LeBron was a Laker. Regardless, this team finished 24th in offense, 12th in defense, and 23rd in net rate. It was clear moves would be and needed to be made during this offseason, and that's exactly what happened. Now, year 2, 2019-2020. Now, this offseason was interesting to say the very least. The biggest splash, as we all know, was the trade for Anthony Davis. But this trade gave away a lot more than you might realize. Now, in exchange for AD, the Pelicans took B.I., Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart, Josh Rice to DeAndre Hunter, which was essentially 2021 first round pick, and a 2024 unprotected pick to the Pelicans, as well as $1 million in cash. This was a 3-team deal, so Mo Wagner, Isaac Bonga, Jamario Jones, and a 2022 second round pick went over to the Wizards. The Lakers essentially mortgaged their future for AD while also bringing in Danny Green on a 2-year, $30 million deal, KCP in a 2-year deal, Avery Bradley, JaVale McGee, Rondo, Boogie, and probably the most important and underrated signing of this bunch, Jared Dudley. He didn't produce, but as we all know, he helped this team win this championship in the bubble with his veteran presence. This was the year we also drafted THT, and we claimed Kostas Antetokounmpo from the Mavs as a 2-way player. As Kostas being Giannis's younger brother, he's gonna have potential no matter what. No matter what he's shown, there's potential there because there was really no potential in Giannis. We saw what he become. You never know what Kostas or one of his brothers can become. It was a busy offseason past the roster with the firing of Luke Walton, hiring of Frank Vogel, and Magic stepping down as the president of basketball operations. The story of the summer was the Lakers essentially packing 4 off seasons worth of drama into a single summer. Our franchise was the hub of majority of the major off-season stories, experiencing both highs and lows. Lows including us having our sights on Kawhi, thinking we were probably going to get him. Didn't pan out. He kind of let us out to dry. And then on top of that, Boogie Cousins tore his ACL this offseason in a year that we thought he would probably come back, prove why he belonged, and, get his rhythm back because he had been injured a couple times prior to. The Lakers essentially filled their roster primarily with veteran free agents that were ring chasing, and young guys that are essentially scratching and clawing to stay in the league. Some signings were questioned, while others was a splash, and the rest was left to be seen. In the moment, it seemed like a lot to give up for Anthony Davis, but again, when you have Bron, the focus is win now, and if AD could help bring a ring to LA, the BI and Lonzo's play in New Orleans would be irrelevant. The reason I say those two is because obviously those two were the stars that were given away. The rest of the guys that we gave up, those were the stars that we gave away. Other than those guys, the other guys aren't really stars. They're more role players that we could probably sign a more veteran guy that's more basketball savvy. So we weren't worried about the other guys so much as BI and Lonzo. We all, of course, know the league was suspended due to COVID on March 11th. Now, during this time, the Lakers were 52-19, leading the Western Conference by 3 games over the Clippers and boasted the 3rd best record in the league behind the surging Bucks and Raptors. Bron and AD were as healthy as ever, playing 67 and 62 games respectively, averaging an impressive 26.4 and 27.3 points per game. There's no other way to put it, but these niggas was hooping, bro. The way they're hooping this year separately, because they've been on the court kind of alternatingly. One's hurt, one's not. The other hurt, the other's not. The way they're doing now, they were doing this our bubble year. If you was watching the Lake show, you know what's up for real. These niggas was going crazy. This is the exact reason Lakers fans have held on to hope for the last 2 years or so. We've seen them at their very best, and this was it. Unfortunately, from this point on, it was all downhill. The season resumed with the bubble in Orlando. The bubble comprised of 22 teams that were eligible to make the playoffs based on 8 placement games to determine seed. Now listen, bro, and I'm gonna say this, I'm probably gonna say it again because I know people are gonna bring it up. Whether it's a troll, whether it's not a troll, this is G shit. I don't care what any of you say, that bubble ring was not a Mickey Mouse ring. This was basketball at its purest state, its purest form. No fans, no media, just hoopers in their element. It honestly reminded me of AAU tournaments. If you're a hooper and you've played in the big AAU tournaments, you've been to Orlando, you've played in the ESPN Worldwide of Sport. That's where they were. And I'd argue that all of these guys in the league, they've played AAU. They've played on the best AAU teams that play all over the world, including, you guessed it, Orlando in the Worldwide Sports complex that ESPN had. So with that being said, honestly, majority, if not all of these guys should be used to these hoops, used to this court, used to this environment because they grew up on this. They grew up on being in travel ball, being in hotels, and essentially playing tournament basketball. Now, of course, some of these guys are older, so they're removed from that for years on end, so it is an adjustment. I can't deny that. However, basketball was at its purest form. This is why we saw some players going off for 50 that shouldn't really be going off for 50. Bottom line is, everyone was there under the same circumstances. Everyone played in the same games, in the same arenas, and the Lakers came out on top. Get over it. Now, year 3, 2020, 2021. This was a year the league started in December due to the prolonged nature of the season due to COVID and the bubble. The season was reduced to 72 games, and the season started just 72 days after the conclusion of the NBA Finals, which is the shortest offseason in league history. Now, I just want to say, and there's no proof of this at all, this is my own, I guess, conspiracy, but I'm a firm believer in routine. I'm a firm believer that a lot of the most successful people have routine, and that does not stop short of professional athletes. Pro athletes always talk about their routine, what they do, their rituals, all the things that they need to get their mind right and be at their best, their most confident self. Routine is vital to their success and what they do. This season threw that usual routine out of whack. Players had to shorten their rest period, where many players in the NBA, they go on vacation after the season and don't get back to hooping until July, August time, when it's about 1-2 months out from the season. I think this has a lot to do with AD getting more serious injuries as of recent in these last couple years. And if you look at his games played, he has only missed more than 20 games twice prior to the bubble season. And one of those years was the years he was traded to LA, so it was not due to injury, but to prevent injury for the trade. Now, another disappointing year awaited the Lakers, where LeBron was hurt, his groin was bothering him, which became an ongoing problem that seemed to bother him for the greater portion of the year. He and AD came back very late into the season, and of course, as Lakers fans, we had heaps of optimism. We even came up with false monikers to help our team and think our team wasn't deteriorating, like saying LeBron and AD were kept out a little bit so that they could be healthy come playoff time, that they weren't really hurt, they were just incubating, waiting so that They could turn up when it was playoff time. And when we saw the Suns, boy, were we confused. Boy, did we realize they were still hurt and they came back too soon. And it was pretty ugly. The silver lining in it all was that the Lakers were not just an old washed up team as everybody acted like they were. Sure, they were the oldest team in the league, but don't get me wrong, the Lakers sneakily constructed a young roster that could sustain the Lakers' success for years to come, just as long as you plug some pieces in the right spot while keeping those guys there. The roster still boasted Kuzma, Caruso, THT, and even Costas. They gave up some future stock to get AD, but that was okay because not only did we get a ring, but we still have young guys that we can build around. The idea amongst Laker Nation was, if we plug up a couple holes in the roster, maybe find a third guy to AD and Bron just in case they get hurt and reload for the next year, we'll be good. Until LeBron and AD do something that changes the Lakers' trajectory for the next couple years to come. Now, before we really get into this conclusion, if you made it this far into the video, please drop a like for me. It really does help the channel. It helps me with the algorithm. You know, YouTube is not the most friendliest with the algorithm. So if you're still here, thumbs this video up. Now, in year 4, the trade for Russell Westbrook struck headlines as we got him. 2024 second round pick, 2028 second round pick for Kuz, Trez, KCP, and a 2021 22nd overall pick, which ended up being Isaiah Jackson, a solid role player for the Pacers now. The Lakers had little to no cap space, no draft capital, and the rush trade is the primary reason why Caruso was lowballed due to luxury tax concerns, or a better way of putting it, Jeannie Buss being a cheap broad. Pelinka had to sign ring chasing vets and young players trying to stay in the league with minimum deals. That's all he could do to fill out this roster. Now, before we continue, a little update on that trade for Russell Westbrook. Kuzma looks to have developed into one of the better all-around fours in the league, averaging 22, 7, and 4 this year. KCP is on a contending Nuggets roster who are leading the Western Conference with the 34-15 record, where he averages 11 points on 46% from 3. And might I add, KCP is a very, very nice addition to this Nuggets team. Fits very well with them. I really like him on this team. He looks like a great fit. Now, the reason I feel the need to update you guys on what those guys are doing from the Russ trade is because of the fact that anybody with eyes could see Russ' play style would not fit with LeBron and AD. Russ and LeBron play honestly too similar to each other. Sure, LeBron looks to pass first. The way he does that is he drives to the cut, jump passes, draws the defense into him. Russell Westbrook, he might not be pass first, but he does draw to the cup and he draws the defense in and can kick it out or dump it off to his big for an easy layup. He did it with Steven Adams all the time. The only asset that could really help this team get someone to help win now was THT, and his season had been awful as well. Granted, THT couldn't really get his footing as he got COVID right after the first couple games. When he came back, he got hurt almost immediately, so he never really could get a true rhythm going. During this time, Sacramento rejected an offer that would have sent Buddy Hield to LA for THT and other players on expiring deals. And even Detroit, they didn't consider the Lakers' best offer of THT and Kendrick Nunn for a 2027 first round pick for Jeremy Grant. Two guys that I think if the Lakers were able to get one of those deals done would really, really help this Lakers team. The Lakers did, though, have 3 players with great potential. They had Malik Monk, Austin Reeves, and Stanley Johnson. 3 guys that played hard every time they were on the court, and 3 guys that actually showed potential that could grow into something more. I loved all 3 of these guys all year, and I personally, along with I want to say Laker Nation, thought we were bringing all 3 guys back. Obviously, the Lakers had different plans, and they brought back Austin Reeves only. Now, Frank Vogel, he didn't help this roster either with his unserious rotations and lack of coaching prowess. And it didn't help that Pelinka didn't know how to do his job. And when it came to firing Vogel at the end of the year, they decided to not allow the next head coach to choose his coaching staff, which is not common in the NBA, thus driving away guys like Tyronn Lue, Jason Kidd, Monty Williams, and a couple other guys that are doing well with their teams currently. Like I'm losing his name right now. I think his last name is Green, Willie Green, I think that's his name. In the Pelicans, he had a shot to be a Lakers coach, but Pelinka decided to choose his assistants for him, which again, This is not normal in the league, and these guys went to other jobs and they're thriving. Now, this became the catalyst to hiring Darvin Ham, who had been an assistant for the Bucks. He was an assistant during their championship year, so he knows what it takes to win. Do not get me wrong. And now we fast forward to where we are today in this season. Now, essentially right now, as it stands, Pelinka has pretty much built the Wizards 2.0, bringing in Troy Brown, Rui Hachimura, and Thomas Bryant, all of which who played with Russ in Washington, which Russ came from Washington as well. Now, so far on this year, I think AD and LeBron are doing what they can, doing what they have to. We started to get on a run. Austin Reeves was hooping, Lonnie Walker was hooping, even Dennis Schroeder was playing quality minutes. Thomas Bryant, he's getting paid somewhere. I don't know where. It might not be with LA, it might be with LA, but somebody is going to pay that man. He's gonna have a job next year. But regardless, we did have some headway going. We had some things to look forward to as Lakers Nation, but we had some guys get hurt in Austin Reeves, Lonnie Walker, AD got hurt again, so it set us back a little bit. As it stands right now, we pretty much can't finish games. It's not ugly basketball. Now, we have ugly stretches of basketball, don't get me wrong. Most times those stretches are when Russell Westbrook is shooting the ball. But regardless of anything else, we have a team that's probably a couple pieces away. But with a healthy LeBron, a healthy AD, you might just be one piece away. And that's a solid 3-and-D player. Now, in a perfect world, the Lakers would get 2 or 3 3-and-D players that are very solid. Don't see it happening, which is unfortunate. But regardless of anything else, the Lakers are in a tough spot right now. Now, as you all know, I'm a Laker fan. So to me, it's save for our future. Do not trade these picks. Do not force a trade just to win now, especially if you're not going to win now. Bron is playing absolutely amazingly. He's breaking the scoring record in the next 2 games or so. AD was on a tear till his injury. He's starting to work his way back in. Russ was finding his footing. He still has games where he drops off, like tonight. They played the Celtics. He started out the game 0 for 6, so he needs to figure that out. But honestly, I think Russ is just happy being out there in his hometown Laker uniform. He gets to play at home. I think he's just happy. We got AR, Lonnie Walker, and Wenyen Gabriel. They're developing very well. They're catching up to the curve very fast. I never had doubts about Lonnie. I don't think I had doubts about Austin Reeves. I just didn't think Austin Reeves had the talent per se. He always had the 1-2 and the will, but talent not always there. And lastly, like I said, we're a move or 2 away from even thinking about being a real playoff team. Not a contending team, a real playoff team. As bad as it sounds right now, Lakers Nation, I have to be brutally honest with you guys. After the LeBron era, it is going to be some rough years in Lakers Nation. It'll be hard to get some guys there with no draft picks and little to no salary cap space. Hopefully we can get free agents there, because what it seems like for these next couple years up until 2030, the Lakers are gonna be shopping in free agency for their players, and that's all because of the team being flipped on its head, all of our young guys being traded out for some win now mentality for LeBron James. I don't want to put it all on LeBron. I don't believe you can put it all on LeBron. I believe the front office, they deserve majority of the blame. LeBron deserves some blames for endorsing that Russell Westbrook trade. But other than that, LeBron has been doing what he can, hooping to his greatest abilities. That's all you can ask for from him. Pelinka, I need you to do your job. Jeannie Buss, for whatever reason, just extended you. I don't think she knows what she's doing with this team, which is why there's so many hands in the pot. You got the Rambuses, you have her, and you have Pelinka. Too many people with one hand in the pot. So we gotta figure this thing out. Jeannie should probably explore selling the team. Love her to death. One of the greatest ownership families ever. It's obvious their hands are full, and it sucks to see the Lakers in the state that they're in, because the Lakers front office has never been questionable the way that it is now. But that's all I got for you guys in this video. Let me know what you think about the Lakers' future, where they're at now, and what you hope for them in the future. As always, it's your boy TB. Drop a like on this video if you liked it. Subscribe if you're not subscribed already. And until next time, it is your boy TB with the greatest hoop stories and debates on the tube. And I'm back, boy. I'm out. Peace.